Welcome back to another episode of the Family Album. I'm your host, AJ Tenari.
And I'm Matt Glass.
Happy 50th episode, everybody.
Happy 50th episode. Man, this is honestly kind of wild. AJ literally just told me that it's our 50th episode.
Yeah.
So I have no surprises. So let's do an improvisational...
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
We have the choir going on right now.
Abracadabra.
1, 2, 3. Now it's time to see what we see. And Mr. Wacky, please welcome Mr. Wacky, acclaimed, beloved guest of the Family Album.
Our favorite San Diegan.
That's true.
Well, besides this wacky turn of events, AJ, that is not the main reason why we're here.
No, it's not.
We have two albums.
We do.
But I guess before we get into them, a couple things.
Yeah.
Thank you for sticking around.
True. We appreciate all your listeners, all your love and support, as we always say.
Family heads. For some reason, AJ and I both had our arms out as we said that.
It's because imagine us embracing you as a thank you.
But we're 7 feet away from each other, so
yes.
we're air hugging.
It's a really big hug.
Yeah, no, seriously, family heads, thank you so much for sticking with us. For those who have been here since the beginning.
True.
AJ and I always talk about how the first 5 episodes that we tried to do were in a bit of a development hell.
It just never came out.
Because our good friend Mike was supposed to take the photo for the family album.
The iconic thumbnail picture.
With me in a sweater that is way too tight and that I cannot find. But we couldn't figure out when to take the photo, so that was what was holding us up, and it put us in a little bit of a development hell. But
we made it eventually.
We did make it eventually, and it's been a very fun time ever since.
That it has.
We're happy to be here, and to all the people who are joining us, because I'm noticing that we're getting a little bit of a flux of followers.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome, family heads. Welcome to the Family Album, fellas.
It's not we're not just here for Tom Hates albums. We do other things too.
That we do. Yes, we have 3 other shows.
It may not feel like that for me sometimes, but as the editor of Tom Hates albums,
but overall, yes, we do.
We do other things,
and we're glad to have you part of this family.
We do other things. Yes. We do other things besides Tom Hates albums, including reviewing 2 albums at the beginning of every month.
That we do. So this week, for our very special 50th episode, I've chosen a very special album for Matt, and that is the infamous Metal Machine Music by Lou Reed.
And me, completely not prepared that it was our 50th episode, I chose just something that I was wondering why I never really actually brought on before, and that is Dopamine by BØRNS.
2 albums that are almost like the yin and yang of each other. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, BØRNS has been compared to the Metal Machine Music of his day.
Yeah, of course, of course. I can get more into why I chose BØRNS' album if we decide to do that first, but AJ, which one do you want to do first?
It's up to me now.
We're in season 3. You can decide now. You know what I mean?
I think maybe we should start with Dopamine. Do the traditional kind of format for our regular episodes, because I feel like for Metal Machine Music, we're going to be a little different from the track-by-track format just because of how that album is arranged and how it sounds.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, Matt is going to hit us with a little bit of history.
Once I get my notes out.
And maybe, if we're lucky, a little bit of Mattstery, too.
I give a little bit of Mattstery toward the end. So, Dopamine by BØRNS was released on October 16th of 2015 through Interscope and Geffen Records, and it is the first studio album by American singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist BØRNS.
Yeah.
With the fancy O.
Yes, the obsolescence O.
Yeah. I hope they don't get sued for that.
Mm-hmm. Obsolescence did it first.
That's true. That's true.
Yes.
Actually, I don't think they did.
It's not.
No, that's very... AJ, put that in the description. It's not true.
Legally, that's false.
Produced by Tommy English, Jeff Kennedy Herkel, John Hill, and even slight help from Jeff Basker.
I saw that.
BØRNS wanted to create an album that exemplified the ideas of love and ecstasy through a psychedelic synth-pop indie avenue with Beach Boys-esque harmonies. BØRNS even stated himself that the album draws from themes of Playboy magazines from the 60s and 70s, quote, because those were the best ones, end quote.
Oh, he was an expert.
I guess so.
Interesting.
The album received pretty positive reviews by most critics, with one describing the production as thick with milk and honey. I also, as a last bit of history, would like to bring up that some guy named Connor Smith from The Paper said this guy is drastically better than Lana Del Rey.
Okay.
Just like,
are they? I don't think they're that comparable.
I can maybe. They're kind of in like the same indie vein, I think, because they have a lot of the same connections, such as like Jack Antonoff.
Oh, I see.
Which, like, I believe BØRNS opened for Bleachers either once or twice.
Interesting.
Yeah. If we want some mastery,
yeah, a little mastery.
This is an album that I have listened to since I was in high school, and I've always come back to it.
Nice. Is it like a comfort album kind of like going back to?
I think so, yeah. It's definitely like on its way up to being like a comfort album, but I just generally really like how this album sounds. And I think the fact that BØRNS like musically came up with like all of the instrumentation parts like himself for the most part, that's pretty impressive. Yeah. He's kind of a beast at a lot of instruments. And I think his vocals pair well with a lot of the really like lush psychedelic synthy instrumentals that are kind of placed throughout the album.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree there. His vocals are, I believe, as he stated, like a little more androgynous, and he uses his high register a lot, which definitely, I guess, was different for the time, and it definitely makes it stand out a little more in comparison to his contemporaries. Yeah.
Before we dive into this, AJ already knows where I'm going.
Yeah, I think so.
So if you're familiar with BØRNS, he has been mired in a bit of controversy. I forget when it exactly like started and like it was all out in the open. But he kind of got accused of some pretty hefty allegations.
Yeah, not great.
Not really good at all. A lot of misconduct of many degrees. In 2024, though, he released his first public statement in I think like 5 or 6 years.
Damn.
Where he acknowledges his faults in some regards, but but also points out some errors in a lot of the headlines after being told to stay quiet about it for like a little while.
Yeah.
So I just want to let everybody know that like I'm well aware of the controversy.
Yeah.
But a good reason why I decided to bring this on here, he actually decided to stage his first full comeback by releasing an album this year.
In 2025?
In 2025.
Oh, wow. Is it out now?
It is out right now. And I got to say, it's fabulous. It's like really, really good, actually. I'm trying to make a habit of staying like up to date with all the albums that are coming out like in the year, so I don't run into another Rise and Fall of the Midwest Princess situation. So my goal is to listen to at least like 40 albums and then like hopefully have a lot to pick from by the time we do our next family meeting of 2025, capping everything off.
Sounds like a good plan, man.
So I'm really, really trying to like keep it current.
Yeah.
But that is the first album I listened to of 2025.
Look at that.
And that is the reason why I brought his debut album, which I guess in retrospect, I could have probably put on my list because I think it's a pretty decent start. Nah, maybe
it's too
not.
late for that.
It's too late for that. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. You know,
exactly. That's what they always say.
Hindsight's 2020. But I've been talking for long enough. Time to do some more talking.
More talking.
Yeah, exactly. Shall we just hop right into it?
Yeah. So this album opens up with 10,000 Emerald Pools, a different kind of sound that you're going to get from the rest of the album, almost with more like a reggae kind of vibe to it.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Reggae, I don't know if I would have pointed to reggae exactly, but then again, I don't know any other description for it, if I'm being honest with you. It is a very misleading opener.
Yeah.
I do like it. I like the bass line, the boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
Matt, was that on the spot?
That was okay. Anyway, we're back. I like the song quite a lot, honestly. Yeah. I think it's a fun opener. Doesn't really represent the album and like its sound very well,
but it's good for what it is.
It is.
I do like the more just kind of like chill, low key vibe that it has. I like also how the bass line also matches up with the percussion. Like the kick drum is doing the same thing, which is really cool. And you do kind of get like a bit of a grasp for what like his vocal range is going to be like. Not quite like the highs that it will be later.
Yeah.
But you get like hints of it, which is pretty cool. And the keys are very nice. The production, I thought actually kind of sounded a little flat towards like the last chorus. Like I feel like it's not as expressive as it gets like later on. But it's decent.
I could definitely agree. The ending is kind of weird with this one. Like I feel like there isn't a lot of impact because once you reach the high of this song, you don't really get much higher.
Yeah.
Especially when it's supposed to be like not a dramatic inclusion, but at least one where it's like, this is
what you're in for.
This is what you're in for. 10,000 emerald pools. I don't know.
It doesn't sound like 10,000 to me. That's all I'm saying.
It sounds more like 9,999. Yeah, I like this track a lot. I think his vocals here are very, very nice. I think it's like a good vibe for what you're trying to get into. Not exactly
very vibey track.
Very vibe. Yes, it's very vibey. Like I feel like whenever I hear this song, I can picture him in like a beanie, just like working on it in the studio.
Yeah,
maybe even doing like the bass for it, like rocking back and forth,
twiddling his little mustache.
His iconic BØRNS mustache that he no longer has. I don't know where it went because there's no picture of him with
after the controversy. He took a hike.
Oh my gosh. I do like the track. I think in the grand scheme of things, though, it's not exactly one that, like, in my opinion, is like one of the high points of the album.
Yeah, it's just kind of there.
I think there are tracks that are higher, but it is good. I do want to give it the justice it deserves.
It's solid. A solid start.
I also really like the vocal effects when he's like, "You're all I need to breathe."
Because it's like he's underwater.
Time is standing still.
Exactly. That was very clever. He does have a couple of those moments all across this album.
He does.
Yeah.
But I think I said enough about it.
Yeah, it's not too much to say.
This is the only one, from what I could tell, that was credited to that Hercule guy.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I didn't see... every single other one was like Tommy English.
But Hercule, he had those 10,000 pools. Amen.
Amen, yeah. Shall we continue?
I think we should.
Next song is called Dug My Heart.
Yeah.
Which I think I like parts of how this song is. Like, I can acknowledge that there are parts of the song that like are really, really fun and really solid. But then there's some, I think, aspects about this song that I'm not like the most fond of, if I'm being honest. Like, I love the drums on here. Like the beat on here is like so thick and so like
it has like a lot of weight to it.
So like vibrant.
Yeah.
But some of like the lyrics, for example, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of this one because it's just they feel very generic and very broad, which is kind of a huge thing about this album that I think is one of my biggest complaints.
I agree.
He's not the best lyricist.
No, especially on like one of the tracks later, it just he doesn't really have the personality to either back up some of those lyrics or just some of the lyrics don't really mean anything.
Yeah, there's one that really pisses me off. I feel like we might be thinking of the same one because that usually happens. But Dug My Heart, I like the little intro. It's like
like the verses are really cool. How it's like more kind of like a techno vibe, and then it goes into the more synth poppy, like traditional pop choruses with the do 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 the synths.
Yeah.
But like I actually had a really hard time remembering what this song sounded like until like my fourth or fifth listen, and it's when I like finally stuck. But like I completely agree with you. Like his songwriting is very generic, and it doesn't really stick to me. It just kind of sticks with like the standard song structure formula that's like been happening since the beginning, and it kind of like that's also a bit of a detriment. It's a little formulaic at points, like all across his album.
Yeah.
But like there's some nice instrumental stuff all across here. Like the keys, I think, are a highlight for me. And I like the layered wispy delivery of the chorus. Like his vocals are at least nice to back up those lyrics.
His vocals are very nice. I say they're probably like the huge draw factor for me.
Yeah, which is completely valid. And there's also a nice little key solo during the bridge.
His bridges are kind of where, I don't want to say he like struggles, but I feel like there are some moments with his bridges that are a bit like, okay.
In comparison to everything else, they fall a little flat.
Little bit. Some of them do a good job of sort of like keeping the songs like energy.
Yeah.
Like, especially on like, I think it's the third track.
Yeah.
But,
totally.
Yeah, no, I think this song is, again, it's good. I think it's like a decent track, but I don't really... out of all these, again, I don't really go for it every single time.
Yeah, there's definitely one song on here that's like the big one you go for.
Yeah.
Which is the next one. But I agree with like a lot of the stuff that you said on this one.
Do you want to continue to the big one?
Yeah. This track was a throwback listening to it. Electric Love.
So can I share a fun story about this song?
Sure.
The way I discovered BØRNS and this song, I am a huge fan of Bob's Burgers. And there's a song... in Bob's Burgers, there's the famous Topsy the Elephant song called Electric Love that Mr. Fishoder and Aunt Gail sing. And I was looking for that song.
Yeah.
And by finding that song, like searching that up on YouTube, I found this other song called Electric Love. And I was like, oh, okay, let me check this out.
It was like a cover of Topsy song.
And I don't even know. Wait, a cover?
Like it'd be funny if like you thought it was a cover of the Topsy song by like this big artist. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Electric Love, the Bob's Burgers cover. No, honestly, like I was really blown away when I heard this song because this was the first song I think I heard by BØRNS. I didn't realize it was so popular like until it trended all over TikTok like last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. This song is actually it's kind of good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
I think it's definitely like the high point for the album. It's like single written all over it. Like it's fantastic. It really plays to his strengths in both production and like vocals, and like it's probably the strongest lyrically.
Yeah, I would say so. Most powerful imagery that like most powerful imagery and like really like bold imagery I'm so sorry family heads. That like works. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Cause like the baby you're like lighting in a bottle, like that's such a good metaphor to just like convey what he's feeling.
Yeah.
And I also didn't know this song was about heroin.
Yeah. Neither did I.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you.
Here we go.
Had no fucking idea that this song was about heroin.
You learned something new.
Yeah. BØRNS is very much an artist that I have listened to based off of vibes alone.
Yeah.
I have no idea about his personal life besides like the controversy.
Yeah. I also have a story about this song though. I covered it disastrously at a birthday party when I was in high school.
Oh, cool.
Me, my two friends, and
Ben and Evan.
Not Ben and Evan.
Sorry.
Unfortunately, not Ben and Evan, but like friends from like marching band and stuff. We played a song for like one of my friend's sisters' birthday parties. We had like a whole set list, and this was one of the songs. And that set list went over disastrously. We barely practiced. We just off tempo, couldn't hear each other. Crowd left like immediately, but we were still getting paid to play, so we had to go for it.
Damn.
I remember going up to like one of our friends afterwards, being like, "Yo, so like, what'd you think?" He was like, "Yeah."
Oh,
it was rough.
Damn. I'm sorry for making you relive that, AJ.
No, it's okay. I laughed when I heard this song. I was like, "Holy shit! What a throwback!"
What, like lightning in a bottle? Just
wow, that performance was like lightning in a bottle. Like it'll never happen again.
I wish I could do heroin after performing that. Oh my god, that's terrible. But yeah, no, I do like this song. I think it's definitely, even though it's kind of like it follows like the basic like formula of pop. You know,
like the structure.
I think that it does it the best here.
Yeah,
probably.
I think so. Just with like the overall like the hook, just like the shuffly feel it has. It's very bouncy. It's like very like catchy to like bob along with. And also like the descending like guitar, like the banana. That's such a good hook to like
really
to like get you like invested in the track. And just like even though it is about heroin, I feel like you could apply those lyrics to something else, which like people can relate to more.
You got the double meaning there, which is really cool.
Exactly.
And the thing is, it's so funny, like putting this in the context of heroin, because it got so popular on TikTok because there was a trend where it was like kissing my best friend of like how many years to see if they have feelings for me.
That's so weird.
It is very weird. And a lot of the times it did not go well.
I can imagine.
Sometimes it did. But then sometimes it really didn't.
Woof.
So the idea that they were like, oh, we're going to have this magical moment and it's about somebody like shooting up is like the craziest.
Yeah, dude.
Jesus Christ. That's wild. But yeah, no, I think this song is definitely like the high point. A lot of these songs, maybe with like the exception of really just the second track, because I still very much have like a love of 10,000 Emerald Pools.
Yeah,
I think a lot of these songs, like even though they might not be as much of a high point as Electric Love, I still have a lot of love in my heart for a lot of them. Nice. Because this is sort of one of the starters of like my indie journey.
Yeah,
in high school, because I kind of stayed in the indie zone for like a while.
And I think that's valid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't really have like that much more to say. The drums are fucking. Oh
yeah,
my
they
God.
are. Just how like tom heavy they are.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
Little 6-8 never hurt nobody.
It really never hurt anybody,
except for all those people at that party that had to listen to it.
Anything else you want to say?
Nah, I think we can move on to the next track, American Money.
I feel like the song is objectively kind of stupid lyrically, but
Yeah.
I really like it anyway. I love the bass line, especially when it's just like fucking drenched in all that reverb in the beginning. And again, the really thick beat that he has in the beginning. But like, again, the lyrics are not very good.
No.
Fucking
eyes are green like American money.
tastes just right like Tennessee honey. Oh gosh.
Oh, BØRNS.
Yeah. But it sounds really nice.
Yeah, it does.
Will say.
Just like the kind of like the psychedelic haze that like coats this whole album is definitely very charming and like an appeal to listen to this album. But you know, BØRNS is just kind of, he does have to sing on it, which is a bit of a distraction.
That's true. That's true. But I think his vocals do sound good.
Yeah.
This
it's
is
just what
not
he's saying.
This is not a. Oh yeah, this is what you're saying. Wait, what were you saying? Wait,
it's just what he's saying is the detracting. Yeah,
I thought you were like, that's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
like what do you fucking mean? Sorry, it's funny. I have headphones on, but sometimes I still like I can't hear very well.
It's okay, man. I understand.
Which is weird. It's weird. What was I going to say? Is the real question.
Lyrics,
are
production
not very good.
True.
The lyrics are honestly not very good. I like the bridge of this one a lot though, when it just is hit, everything cuts out and he's just kind of like vocalizing, saying like, I've waited my whole life for you. Like, just going at it.
Yeah. And it also is like really cool at the outro too. I thought that was like a switching up of like the next track, but it's just the outro of the song with like
the timpanis.
The timpani, like the ambient choir that like leads into the next track. I was like, oh shit, that's pretty cool.
It was a pretty cool outro, honestly.
Yeah.
I think this one honestly might be my top 3 favorites because it's got a lot of really good vibes.
Yeah.
Genuinely. And there is a music video. He rides on like a bike at one point.
Nice.
With this girl.
That's rad. Is money pouring out of his bag?
Yeah, no.
Or out of her eyes?
I was trying to see if her... I can't remember if her eyes were green. I really can't...
That'd be like such false advertising if it wasn't.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do like this track though. But I can acknowledge the lyrics are bad.
Yeah.
It's just near and dear to my heart.
And that's valid. I like the guitars in the pre-chorus, and I like how this track has like almost like a hip-hop kind of club beat like towards the beginning, which is a nice change up.
That solo, by the way, is also pretty fucking rad.
It is very nice. I do like the solo. And I said this track kind of gave me like beach weather vibes.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that's like what my mind went to.
Probably around the same time, possibly.
I think they came like a year after this album. I think that's when they dropped their first EP. I think it was 2016. I could be wrong. So description. Yeah.
There's a really great live rendition of him doing this, but with a 5-piece like string.
Oh, cool.
Quintet.
Yeah.
I was about to say 5-piece string quartet, which would have just been
incorrect.
Completely incorrect. But yeah, no, I think just the way his vocals are on here, how they kind of just like flutter all over like the song.
Yeah.
It's just really, really nice to listen to.
Yeah, I agree.
But it still has that like punch.
It does, like, with those thick ass drums.
Those thick ass drums. Thick with a Q, you know what I'm talking about?
Fellas.
But I'm ready to keep going.
All right. Next up we have The Emotion. I think this one's like okay. I like the choruses more than the verses. I think it's just like, it's a nice slowdown, I guess, from like what we've been hearing. I just find it a little boring.
I gotcha. I actually really like this track a lot. I think the buildup is really nice, especially when it gets to the choruses. But I think the drums just like I don't even know how to describe.
It's very kick
are.
heavy.
It is really kick heavy, but I guess I fuck with it. I guess I like kicks.
Dude, that's awesome.
I'm doing this for kicks. You know what I mean? I'm getting my kicks. Yeah, no, I can kind of see how this song could be boring though, if I'm being honest. Like, it's kind of the same thing as what you've been hearing.
Yeah,
sort of, kind of.
I guess structurally, it's like a little bit of a switch up because there's 2 verses before the chorus, which like is part of the build up.
Yeah.
Though I didn't like notice here his vocal delivery and just like the overall lyrics reminded me of like early Bruno Mars in like the verses.
I can kind of see that actually.
Yeah, just kind of like his vocal performance. Just kind of like my mind just went to like stuff like Grenade, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to think of early Bruno Mars songs. The Lazy Song.
Oh my god. With all the monkeys? Yeah, exactly. I really like the guitar riff that like is so reverbed out.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's just like it adds to like a really nice ethereal vibe, I feel like. I also just love how much of an impact the choruses have when like when they hit, especially when you have like the mix of like the choir vocals and like the sort of like synth strings in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Something about that is really cool. There's also like a weird like creaky noise that happens throughout the song.
Oh yeah, you're right. It almost sounds like kids laughing, like it's like super like far in the background.
Some nice Boards of Canada inspiration.
Yeah, this is the Gio Gotti of his discography.
Yeah, emotions have the rights to children. You know what I mean?
That's pretty good.
I try. Yeah, no, I do like this track actually a lot. It's just, I think the melody is just really, it's so earwormy.
Yeah, it's pleasant too.
It is. I can also see how it's boring though, but I personally really like it.
Well, Matt, that's all for you then.
I think it's like the same principle as American Money. Like
Gotcha.
I can acknowledge that the lyrics are
They're better
on this one.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I would say. But I think like, you know, I think it's like the same principle as American Money in the sense where it's like, it just sounds like really nice.
Which is valid.
Sometimes you just kind of want to get lost in the fucking
The emotion.
dopamine haze,
As they call it.
as they call
heroin.
that quintessential dopamine haze.
Yes. The street slang for heroin we all know and love.
Guys, please don't do drugs.
No, please don't.
Please.
That'd be very silly if you did.
A little bit. I think we should move on to the next track.
Yeah, I don't like this next track.
What?
Holy Ghost.
Yeah, this one's weird.
Yeah.
I like the little, like, it sounds like there's like an omnichord thing happening.
Yeah.
Did I ever explain what an omnichord was?
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Hey, explain it again for new family album heads.
So an omnichord, first of all, omnichord was used to make Clint Eastwood by Gorillaz.
Okay.
It's kind of like, it's a digital instrument that can find any chord you can think of in like, you know, standard Western scales.
Gotcha.
And you can have it syncopated to a pre-programmed rhythm, or there's a touchpad where you can glide your finger up and down to make it sort of have like this glissando effect, like flowy, like running through the like all octaves of the chord. But you see all these like buttons right here?
Yes.
This is what it looks like in full.
Okay.
I just zoom in and it's like, yeah, you see that? But this thing is like a touchpad, and when you go like slide it up and down,
it like ascends and descends, or
it just kind of does through like this chord and almost like whatever chord you choose on the buttons in like this sort of like almost harp kind of like way. Cool. And it makes for like a really sort of dreamy yet retro sound. They've kind of resurfaced in popularity, but they were super popular in like the 90s and 80s.
Yeah.
They were out of commission, but they've been like
popping up again.
Yeah. But you can do other effects on it like reverb and like drive, as well as find some pre-programmed rhythms. Straight up, Clint Eastwood is just a pre-programmed like dun 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 dun. That is a pre-programmed chord
like
production pattern in this device.
Oh shit.
So
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, and he made millions of dollars off of that.
Yeah.
Honestly, props to you, David Albarn.
Yeah.
But I do like how this song
sounds
like the omnichord.
Yeah.
The way that it kind of like plays with like the little sparkly like intro over top the burm burm burm. That part is not omnichord. That is like whatever other instrument. That is indeed a guitar, but like it does sound like an omnichord for sure, with that like weird like sparkly like
like the fluttery kind of sound that's all throughout that part. Yeah.
I'm not very large on the chorus of this.
Yeah, I think the lyrics are the biggest flaw of the song. I feel like for like this like sexy jam, he doesn't really have like the personality, at least in his vocal delivery, to back that up.
Baby, baby.
So, I want to watch you bloom.
So open up your heavenly gates. I hate the part so much.
It's so weird.
I was re-listening to it on the way here, and I was like, "Oh God, I hate."
I know it's so awkward to listen to. Like the music is pretty good.
It is,
yeah.
And I do like the build up to the chorus, especially like the lover in need of confession. Let me satisfy you. But just like I don't know, I feel like it's a weird way to phrase like, baby, you're my Holy Ghost.
Yeah, it's like I like the kind of theme of the song, like using kind of the Christian imagery to like juxtapose sex. It's like it's a good bit.
Yeah.
But he just can't really pull it off for me.
It's weird. It's a little weird.
Especially like paired with just like very awkward like lyric stanzas. It's not a very good combination.
It's not phrased very well,
No.
if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it could use like another draft, I think.
I would say that this one is one of the other ones that I don't really like listen to unless I'm listening to the full album.
Which is valid. I mean, like, again, like the music is very good. Like the guitars and the bass line are fantastic.
They are. They're really good.
It's got like a nice, like almost synthwave aesthetic at the beginning. It's a very funky, very, very sexy jam. But the lyrics sound like the Jonas Brothers wrote it.
Oh man, you'll know what the Jonas Brothers lyrics sound like soon, AJ.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Stay tuned, family heads.
I've been thinking, side tangent, I have been thinking about what the last album of the year is going to be.
Nice.
And we've been on kind of a streak of bad albums, I feel like, or at least we're about to be. So I'm thinking one of the Jonas Brothers albums is going to be the last one of the family album.
Yeah, this season.
3. Thinking Lines, Vines, and Trying Times.
Well, stick around, family heads. We got a long way to go, though.
Quite possibly. But I think the backing vocals on this one are good, though.
Yeah, they're nice.
But I will agree. This song is just kind of awkward.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't want to listen to this with, like, anyone in my car.
That's very valid.
Next up, we have Past Lives, which immediately drew a comparison to Tame Impala.
Yeah, I can very much see that.
Yeah.
Honestly, this album is very Tame Impala adjacent.
Yeah, I'm trying like my best not to compare because I think it came out after.
I think so. That sounds right.
But because like it was like of the two like like synth pop albums of like 2015, like Currents kind of tough to beat.
Without a doubt, yeah.
In my mind,
I would never try to pit this up against Currents by Tame Impala, without a doubt. Yeah, no, I like this song. This one also trended on TikTok for a little while. Gotcha. It was like slowed down and reverb, so it was like pitched down a bit. And it's weird. Like I never really viewed this song as having like a sad connotation, but like everybody kind of puts it in a sad connotation, like at least the beginning part.
Gotcha. Yeah,
because
the more like monologue part.
And once the song actually kicks on, I do like it, but I also really like the 80s like style, like electro synth.
Yeah, the synth are very nice on the choruses.
Down, 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 do 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 do. Like
do 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 do.
It is fun, but
and it says like earwormy, like the chorus is to destiny. I'm all you need.
Oh, this is the one where I hate the lyric. It's like something sons and the daughters. Our love is deeper than the oceans of waters. It's like, okay. Are there other oceans that we should be aware of?
Yeah, the ocean of slime.
Actually, there is. Fun fact, scientists discovered that there's an ocean deep beneath the crust of the earth.
That's pretty cool. Made of what?
I think water, but it's not like the Pacific Ocean.
But it's not here. That's what matters.
It ebbs and it flows.
It is not deeper than our love.
Oh man, maybe he's talking about the 10,000 emerald pools.
Oh, maybe.
But I always hated that line so much. It's like the oceans of water. It's like,
it's
what?
So silly.
What does that even mean?
And who are the sons and the daughters?
It's like the mamas and the papas, but it's like
their sequel band.
Yeah, that was the band I tried to start. It didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I couldn't find any of the daughters. It was just me.
It was just the singular son.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no. I do like the way the song sounds. I love the intro. I think it does a good job throughout. But I hate like the only other thing I hate about this song is like the "Give me love, I need you now."
Yeah. Da, 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 da.
I don't think the pitched up vocals work very well with this, only because I don't know. I feel like he already has so much like range with his vocals. Like, why did he need to do that?
It feels out of place and almost like kind of cheesy.
A little bit.
It might be the point for this track, considering like how 80s inspired it is.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really work very well.
Psychedelic pop, man.
Hey, that Tame Impala did it. Why can't they?
That's true. Shall we continue?
Sure.
I think if I'm remembering correctly where the track list is, because for some reason I'm just refusing to look at it right now. I think this is the stretch of songs where I'm like the not like the most fond of.
I can see why.
So I think there's 3 more.
There's 4, I think.
There's 4 more.
I mean, I don't blame you for thinking 3 because this track Clouds is kind of a filler track.
Oh, I actually like this one.
Okay.
It's like
go off.
Yeah, this next song is called Clouds, and it's first of all, it's very short, and I could definitely see how it's filler. But I also really like how it sounds like a record trying to get up to speed in the beginning, and then it's just a really low key like
vibe throughout.
The chillest vibe, I'd argue.
I definitely, it's probably the slowest track on the album.
It doesn't overstay its welcome, I don't think. It cuts the second verse in half and then just kind of goes to the end, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I like the guitar riff, or it might be a bass riff, the boom, 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 boom. Something about that, it's like
satisfying.
It's satisfying and just not, it doesn't need to do too much.
Yeah, it does what it has to.
I also could see an argument of it not being needed on this album. But I think, like, hey, the album's vibe is dreamy. Why not include another dreamy track?
Yeah, and it's not like a super long album either. It's like 35, 40 minutes.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah. I just feel like it's I guess it's like a nice kind of change of pace from like what we've been hearing, especially after Past Lives. But it just kind of didn't really do anything to really grip me. It just felt like it was there for the sake of more content.
Yeah.
The guitar is pretty nice. And there's some like cool like theremin chimes in the background, which is dope. But it just didn't really do much for me.
I can see why. I do love the delivery of this, the I won't stop. Like something about that with like the harmony. Like that always scratches an itch on my brain, which I think this album just does for me a lot.
Gives you dopamine.
It does give me dopamine.
Wow.
Which I believe is the next track.
That it is.
I have mixed feelings about this one.
Okay.
I feel like I've come to enjoy it more in later years. Meaning now. I don't know why I phrased it like that at all.
In my old age.
In my old age, yeah. The ripe age of, and then just
redacted.
Redacted. I've come to appreciate it more later on because I do very much, I like the synths that he uses on here a lot.
Yeah.
I think they're objectively pretty good. And I think his vocals are pretty strong here too.
Yeah, it almost has like a Timberlake kind of thing to it. Just like with that like high pitched, like kind of, I guess like sultriness to it. And I do agree, the keys are really nice, almost sound like video game keys with like those loops.
Yeah, I fuck with that part. But I also don't know if it necessarily lives up to the title track.
Gotcha.
If I'm being honest. Like, yes, it's synth pop. Yes, he has strong vocals on here. But I also just feel like thematically, it doesn't really embody what I think the album is.
Yeah.
Like if I'm looking at the album cover, I think of it definitely more like Electric Love, or like I think of
Holy Ghost.
The Heavenly Gates are
they are open on that album cover.
Okay, this is gonna sound really, really weird. Speaking of the album cover, is it just me or do his legs just seem really small?
Just like the way they're framed?
Yeah.
Let me look at it real quick.
His legs just look really small to me.
He's got tiny legs.
I don't.
Oh, he does.
Like
it's like when Deadpool gets like cut in half and he grows his legs back.
That's what it, like every single time I look at the album cover, he's like trying to sit there, look all like here comes the smolder,
sexy, yeah.
But then like his legs,
he's got baby legs.
He looks like a ventriloquist dummy. His fucking legs,
I never noticed that.
They barely like touch the ground.
I think it's also because like Dopamine covers his shoes, so like his exposed like ankles look like his feet, so it looks like they're dangling off the chair.
Oh god, like sorry guys, that's just more of a Matt intrusive thoughts kind of deal, but I just needed to share that publicly.
That's fun. I never noticed that. That's awesome.
Oh god, is it? I don't know.
BØRNS has little Pete's, dude.
Anyway, so Dopamine, the song, is okay in my opinion. I do like his vocals, and I definitely have an appreciation for it, but it's still not one that like I seek out, at least not as much as like the other two. AJ, what do you think about this track?
I think it's okay. I actually personally thought it kind of lived up to the title track. I feel like just in terms of like its overall energy, I feel like it does embody like the overall tone of the album. I do like how the choruses and the verses are like sound so different, with like the choruses being like very busy, with the verses being like pretty minimal in the comparison. And I just like his confidence on this track too. I feel like and the keys, they definitely just make it a lot more fun.
I feel like, I don't know if there's exactly a Venn diagram here, but I low-key feel like the part, it's like toward the end of the song where it's going back into the chorus and it has like those really like impactful drums on the wanna feel that stream of dopamine. I feel like there's like a weird Venn diagram between like that part of that song and then like that moment on high hopes in like a weird way.
Yeah.
As they're trying to build back up to the chorus and then go back into it, trying to like better than ever, like with really reinforced beat. Like I feel like for some reason, because of that Venn diagram,
like they overlap.
They overlap, and I just can't not think of High Hopes, unfortunately.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah. Because that song is so good that it ruins the whole album Dopamine.
All my other music listening experiences.
Because who doesn't want to think of Pete Buttigieg when they're listening to music? Oh, man.
King of Sex, Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, God. Let's just land this plane while we still can.
Overnight Sensation is the next track.
I like this track a lot, actually. Yeah. I think the beat on here is just really nice. And it's kind of like got a nice lo-fi hip-hop beat, which I really, really enjoy.
Yeah.
Not like a slow one either. Like a really like involved one that I really enjoy. With some delay, too.
Yeah.
Which I fuck with.
I do really like how the drums sound on this one. They're almost like on like the cusp of synthetic sounding, even though I believe they're acoustic, which is pretty cool.
I thought they were acoustic, but I think they're baller.
Yeah, they're really nice. Just like the way that they're produced is very cool. He does mention specifically a 1974 Playboy, so he did do his research. You are correct about that. That's wild.
Indeed. In the context of like looking at a porn magazine, is it porn?
Yeah, yeah. It's titillating, one might say.
Sorry, I don't know why that was so funny. Oh my gosh. It was just the initial like porn. Is it porn? Like, God. Anyway. Oh my God. Yeah, no. I think in the context of like that being an aspect of this album, the title of the song and just the overall like song is kind of a crazy concept.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
Overnight Sensation. Look at this magazine. Damn, what magazines are you buying? Jesus Christ.
Oh, BØRNS.
I do like the way this track overall just like presents itself and like sounds.
Yeah,
I think the key change is like a little weird, but like it kind of works. Like, I don't hate it. There have been some other jarring key changes in my day.
Yes, as we've covered on this podcast.
On Viva Las Vengeance.
Yeah.
Wow, 2 Panic references in the same episode.
Can we get 3?
I fucking hope
Question
not.
of the week.
Yeah, question of the week. Can we get 3?
Predict it.
Oh my gosh. But anything else about this track?
I think it's like, it's fine. I enjoy it. I like the overall sentiment. I just acknowledged that there was a key change. I didn't think it was good or bad.
Yeah.
I like the instrumental break before the bridge. I think it's nice that like they get more of a chance to shine before he comes back in. The lyric, God, you really outdid yourself with this one, stood out to me. I guess that's kind of like a sweet sentiment, a higher power made you. Yeah. That's sweet. But yeah, I think it's solid.
Yeah. I think I like the hook too the most.
Yeah.
Something about just the overnight sensation. Like something about that. It's like...
It's groovy.
It is really groovy.
Yeah.
And also the pitch percussion. That's very, very cool.
Agreed.
That's key.
Can't go wrong with that.
You really can't.
Last up, we have Fool. And I think this is a pretty fun song. It's very yacht rock.
It is.
Which I was not expecting to hear on this album. So that was a nice treat for me. I like the vibraphone that's used on this track a lot too.
I really enjoy this song a lot, actually.
Yeah, it's fun.
I think like it's a good closer. Again, much like the intro, it doesn't really embody the album.
No, not at all.
But I think it's a good way where it's like enough level of energy, but also just like not overdoing it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Which I enjoy.
Plus I like the concept, just like, man, you got me acting like a fool. Bass drum so thick. Sorry. But yeah, I do like this one, especially like the weird like flute that happens.
Yeah, that was really cool. I love the keys and the guitar riff overall. They sound like very classic in like their presentation. The synth organ on the second verse, that shit goes hard.
It really does.
And I like the almost like kind of soulful feel the choruses have. And his vocal performance is very strong on this track, which is perfect. Honestly, like vocally, I think this might be like maybe not the best of like the hooks. Definitely up there though. Oh yeah, totally. Just I love how it's him. I love how it's like his layered vocals first, and then his vocals with like a little bit of drive, and then it goes back into like the full on like chorus vocals. Well, that shit's kind of cool. Just he's good at sandwiching things. Yeah. Any more thoughts on Full, Matt? It's just a good closer, honestly. Yeah. I think like after the journey he kind of takes you on, it's a good way to end the album on like a really fun note. Yeah, even if it's not quite what we've been hearing, it's just solid.
It is.
But Matt, that'll bring us to our final thoughts.
Yes, it will.
So what did you think of Dopamine by BØRNS?
I definitely still have like a deep-seated love of this album. I would say like I just really like how all the tracks sound. Even when I was in high school, I can very much acknowledge the fact that like some of these lyrics are not like the best.
Yeah.
But it's never really stopped my enjoyment of the album because I don't think that you really need to find a lot of deeper meaning in this album, if I'm being honest, because everything's pretty intuitive, except for like what other oceans there are, because like I have no idea.
Yeah, we're still lost on that one.
Let me know in the comments if you can. Spotify has comments now.
Oh, yeah.
Which is insane to me because we got a comment on one of our last ones.
We did.
That I was not expecting. But thank you for commenting, by the way, and engaging with us. But this album, I think, does a good job of like kind of honing in on a very specific sound and sort of a very specific like branch of where indie was at the time. But I think like definitely I am a bit biased in love and enjoyment because it was like one of my first albums that like I
spoke
found
to you
and like kind of learned that like music can be like playful in like a very fun way. Or in this way, I should really say. I don't know ranking wise where I would put this. I think I would give this like a solid B.
Okay. I think it's valid.
I think it's like definitely comparable enough to like be enjoyable throughout.
Yeah.
Even if the lyrics aren't the best. I'd say I give this like a low B. I think, and maybe like a 7.6 out of 10.
Gotcha. I think that's completely valid. I think I will say the more that I listened to this album, I think the less warm on it I was. I think it's solid for what it is. BØRNS does have a very nice voice, though I feel like he's not doing too much to stand out from his contemporaries at that time.
Oh yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, the music is definitely the highlight all throughout. Just like the synth pop instrumentals with like the classic style of songwriting and just like the memorable harmonies and hooks really like help keep these songs in like your brain even like a couple listens afterwards. The bass work is really fucking good all across this project.
It is.
Like so many great moments to shine when holding shit down or just going off to do its own thing. The keys also do a lot of heavy lifting on this album, kind of coating the album in like this retro like haze. Yeah. Look at that, Matt. Wow.
We got one.
All right. But like a lot of these melodies, like they sound like super cosmic and like are super infectious, but they're just like how they're arranged and just how they're produced. Makes it very memorable. Though the biggest flaw of this album is the songwriting. It's basic, and then when it's not basic, it's just not good, unfortunately.
I would agree, honestly.
Yeah, he does have his moments, like on Electric Love and Fool. Like those are pretty good lyrical moments. Like they're not really doing anything to like reinvent the wheel, but they're solid for what they are.
I'd argue 10,000 Emerald Pools maybe too. I think for the most part, that song is pretty inoffensive.
Yeah, I'd agree there. But like Holy Ghost and what's the other one?
American Money.
Yeah. Like they're very silly.
They really are.
Yeah, and you can't really take them seriously, unfortunately, with those lyrics.
But I love them.
I love them so much. I do think he is a good vocalist throughout. He does have a lot of talent as a singer, especially when he uses his high register. And luckily he utilizes that a lot on this album, which is very impressive. So I think it's a very solid debut with some high highs and some forgettable lows. But I'd be happy throwing it on like the background every now and then. So I'm going to give it a C+. So that was Dopamine by BØRNS. And now it's time to move on to our next album, Metal Machine Music.
Yeah, that one. I was about to say it and then you said it.
You want to retake that?
That's okay. It's the charm of the family album.
It's the 50th episode.
It is, which is wild because I forgot that again. Anywho, yes. Metal Machine Music by Lou Reed.
Yeah, so this is going to be a very interesting one, probably like the most unorthodox family album discussion, probably since our first episode, or first recorded episode. So without further ado, shall we get into a little bit of history?
I think we should.
All right. So Metal Machine Music by Lou Reed was released July 1975 on RCA Records, and it is the fifth studio album by American artist and one of the founders of the Velvet Underground, Lou Reed. This album served as an extreme departure from any previous project Lou Reed had released prior, taking inspiration from the drone music of Lamonti Young's Theater of Eternal Music, and being made completely of dissonant guitar tones and feedback. It is often regarded as one of the worst albums of all time, being taken off store shelves 3 weeks after its initial release. However, in more recent times, the album has gained a cult following, and has been cited as highly influential in the noise, drone, electronic, and ambient genres.
You know, it's kind of funny. Like, one really surprising turn of events is that I kind of like this album.
For real?
No. Are you kidding me? This thing is the worst thing. I think, honestly, this might have been the most brain-raking experience I've ever had.
Matt, what are you talking about?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Dude.
That was... I don't even think I could put it into words how this listening experience was for me.
Did you listen to it like front to back, like all in one go?
Yep.
I see.
Am I not supposed to do it like that?
No, I mean, I'd rather take breaks.
Yeah, no, I listened to the straight hour and 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, this is probably one of the only albums, like, as of, like, recently, that I have not listened to at least twice.
Gotcha, this was a one and done?
This was a one and done. I wanted nothing to do with this album ever again.
Valid.
I gotta be honest. Though, I will say, before I start shitting on it, I did do some research as to why he did this.
Yeah.
And I understand why he did it. However... One, musique concrète is not for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is, at least that's what Spotify says this is.
Interesting. I can see that.
Because of the tapes.
Yeah.
Because specifically it's like having to do with like reworking tapes and stuff. But this is a very harsh listen.
Yeah. Not accessible in the slightest.
No. No. It was painful. I think genuinely it was kind of painful to listen to front to back.
I see.
Because I started to do a track by track for this, and I wrote for the first two songs, and I didn't write for the last two songs, but may I just read what I wrote to take you through like my psyche?
Sure. Oh, some mastery?
Some mastery, yeah.
Let's go.
Technically, yeah, I guess it would be some mastery because I didn't actually write about the song. We could
Just
talk
your
about,
experience.
we could talk about what the song actually sounded like in a second.
Yeah.
But here's what I wrote. God, this fucking intro is way too long. Over 2 minutes, it absolutely insane. It seems to be guitar noises mixed with dial-up. It's so abrasive but harmonious. I would have vibed if it was just a minute max, but this is absolutely fucking brain-raking. We are almost reaching a quarter of the track. I feel itchy. We are now approaching 6 minutes of this. I want to cry. Holy shit, I think I'm gonna get a nosebleed. This is pure unbridled chaos and noise. Like, it's harmonizing, but the actual noise is extremely overwhelming. We're 9 minutes in, and this straight up is just gonna be the song, isn't it?
Nice.
God, I'm not done.
Yeah.
God, someone help me. God, who hurt this man? God, now there seems to be a squealing noise involved. And then that was part one. This is part two.
Cool. Yeah.
We're still in this horrendous experience. There seems to be trills similar to that of a violin. I think I may be hallucinating. I could hear a guitar in the left channel, I think. I'm thinking if this album is the entire time, it's just going to be like this. That was not a sentence.
We get what you mean.
I was hallucinating. Let me keep in mind. This is
this is in your episode of Psychosis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's so sad. There's no reason someone would be happy to create something this abrasive. For 2 straight tracks, at least. It sounds like tape being reeled in a cassette player. The noise is lessening a little bit, and I feel like I can start to hear elements of music, but it's all still very awful to the ears. God, the noise began to lessen, and now it came back full force. It's a little unbelievable. I'm still listening to this for 3 more minutes, and that's where I ended.
I see. Your journey.
Yeah, that was like the first song and a half.
Yep.
That was yeah.
So overall S tier, 10 out of 10.
Yeah. S for shit, I believe, is what it stands for. Yeah, no, I gotta say, this was, if I haven't made the point abundantly clear, this was a very hard listen. But do you want to share your thoughts, or do we want to talk into a little bit of like what was happening in Lou Reed's life?
Well, I'll go into that, and then I'll say like how that kind of like shaped my thoughts, because I think like having some more context as well as just being aware of like the reputation this album had before going into it.
Yeah,
kind of like skewed my perspective a little bit.
Yeah, because like I understand why he did it after looking. I had to look it up after listening to it. You know what I mean?
So around the time when this album came out, it was like theorized that Lou Reed released this to get out of his record contract. It was a 5-album deal with RCA Records, and this was his last one.
And he was miserable.
He was miserable because Berlin, 2 albums prior to this, like flopped hard. Now it's regarded very well, critically acclaimed, but He released an album after that was more in line with Transformer, but it was not very good, not very critically received, and he didn't really put a lot of effort into it or didn't really care. At that point, he was also becoming very dejected with the media and just like very jaded with fame, and he like hated just like being on talk shows and like talking about music and stuff. So he made this album, which people theorize was to get out of that contract, just like one album left and then I'm out of here. But in like more recent times, he's actually said this was like a passion project of his. Like he wanted to like just do something different, do something that was more true to himself. After Sally Can't Dance, the last album was something that he just made to be like popular and to like be successful. So I think that there is artistic merit to this album, which can't be said for a lot of the other, some of the other albums we've talked about on this podcast.
Which is very true.
Yeah.
Especially, I don't know if this website that I found this on was correct, but I'm pretty sure there was an element of like the experience on being on drugs that was like in mind when creating this. Mm-hmm. If I want to say it was either like heroin or meth.
I'm not sure.
But I'm pretty sure he was doing drugs at this time because he was so miserable. And I'm pretty sure the website that I had read had said that he was like attributing a lot of like the sensation of like
being high.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And like shooting up and just all that shit going through your body.
I mean, it's a very harrowing experience, and you can kind of hear that all throughout the music.
So, I will say, as much as I am shitting on the listening experience, I do agree, especially like just from the sheer fact of how frustrating record labels can be to artists. Mm-hmm. And like being locked in a contract with like a label after having commercial failure and not going anywhere. I read a lot of stories that like artists just cannot evolve creatively when they're in such like
a small box,
such like really like pressing conditions. Mm-hmm. So I do agree with you there. There definitely is some artistic merit to it.
Yeah. I think the thing that really stands out to me about why this album isn't as bad as people claim it to be is because it's purposeful. Like a lot of the decisions that are made on this album, like Lou Reed actively chose to do, like there's purposeful channel mixing, there's purposeful like timing of like different tones and different guitar sounds to like come in. Like this wasn't just like random.
There are callbacks to specific noises too, and it even bookends the album.
Exactly. Like he didn't just like put two guitars against amps and then said, that's an album. He like purposely took these sounds, mixed them down, sped them up, slowed them down, like played around to make like these sound collages that he believed was portraying what he wanted to.
Yeah.
Which I think is very admirable, especially at that time when he was being like put like a lot of pressure on by labels. So he just wanted to like do his own thing.
You know, you talk about how like it has a lot more artistic merit than like a lot of other shitty albums we've reviewed.
Like Pray for the Wicked.
It's still gonna be higher than Playboy Cardi.
Yeah.
I did think that when I was listening to it. Because at least this is creatively interesting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I think above everything else, like I did feel the pain that he obviously was feeling. Mm-hmm. Like I said in my Matt story, you don't make something like that if you're like happy and doing well. Like the pain could be felt. I just really felt it.
Yeah.
But I guess it is like you say, it was purposeful and it was the intention in a way.
Mm-hmm. Like a lot of these like some of these like tones sound almost like screaming at like parts, which is like haunting.
It is. And it is haunting.
Yeah. It reflects his mind state, just like this industrial noise, this like fuzz, this like constant anxiety inducing just like noise that permeates throughout like an hour. It's a very harrowing like listening experience, but like I feel like it can be kind of rewarding. I mean, like, I'll be honest, like, I'm not going to glaze this album to death. Like, I don't think it's the best thing in the world, but I think it gets way too much hate. There's also a YouTube video I want to recommend I believe it's called The Most Controversial Album of All Time by this YouTuber called Muntchuck. Mm-hmm. I'll put it in the description. But they kind of have like a nice chronology of like the making of this album, why it was made, and like the legacy that it has. And I feel like it's definitely a good watch if like for people who aren't really like super knowledgeable about it or are not as like warm to it, you can at least kind of gain a perspective of like where he was coming from and like see why other people like it as well.
Didn't this also open the door to him starting to make a different kind of music after this too? Because
right after this, he left his RCA, released, I believe, his like next biggest album on a different label. I forget what it's called. I'll put it in the description. But like, even though he kind of like floundered at that label, he got like a second shot and then continued to have a very prosperous career afterward, doing more things that he wanted to do, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, a lot of artists can't do that.
Exactly.
No, like that is very commendable.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think musically, it is a very harsh listen. Like I took this in chunks because I think I give this 2.5 listens just to kind of like get my bearings straight. I wasn't gonna really memorize a lot of these tracks. Like I have notes about like just like some of the sounds and just like how interesting the production is and just how he was able to really kind of just create these like different interesting soundscapes. Like part 2 sounds like very violent in the beginning, just like how much shit happens in like the left channel. Sounds like there's explosions at one point or like helicopters going around. There's seagull chimes, as I've heard. Pitchfork referred to them too, like the little squeals that happen in the beginning.
Yeah.
And just like the way that the music is mixed is just very interesting. Like you hear something happen in the left channel, then it slowly starts to grow lower as something in the right channel takes over, and that kind of like catches your attention. It's conveying a different kind of feeling. So it's just like a very interesting listening experience. I can very much see why people don't like it, but I didn't really mind it, especially going in with the mindset that this is one of the worst albums of all time. It's not that bad.
Did you know like what the genre was going into it?
Kind of. I knew it was noise. I knew it like the primary foundation of this album was like screeching guitars and just like feedback. I didn't know like how that was arranged or how that sounded. So when I listened to it, I was like, oh, this is more pleasant than I expected. Not by much, but still, I was expecting like the absolute worst.
I will be honest with you. When I'm given an album, I don't do research until after I listen to it.
Yeah.
Just because I really like to, I think the first impression like just really matters, especially with like my reviews and stuff. But I was not prepared, I gotta say.
I mean, I can understand. It's a very jarring first impression, I should say.
Yeah. But then I did read the history a bit like before I came here. So like I said, like I think it's really funny, as much as I had a horrible experience listening to this, how it's probably still not going to be like the complete bottom of the barrel for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Because again, the purposeful like nature of it and like the intention. But
it's not a pleasant listen.
No.
Yeah.
I did notice that like the sounds would kind of shift around a little bit.
Yeah.
And like I said before, I also did notice that there were like callbacks to like specific sounds that you hear in the beginning. And then like before the ending, which the ending is so weird.
Yeah, it loops. So I don't know if this is like a reference on the streaming like version, or if that's just how like that's like their interpretation of the ending. But when it was released on vinyl, the last track and like the last like minute or something, there was like a trick groove in the vinyl, so it was constantly loop the ending, so it never ended unless you actually took the needle off. So I don't know if they were trying to replicate that on the streaming version, or if that's just like how it canonically ends.
Yeah. It was very interesting. It was definitely the most different part, I think, of the record.
Yeah.
The only time I feel like I noticed like a real shift in like the energy was when we got to like track 3. Because it's funny how you said like track 2 feels more violent to you.
Gotcha.
Because I felt like track 3 felt more violent. Like there was just like this weird like cantankerous like energy that I could not.
Something just it turns like pure screeching like from the get-go.
This also could just be me pulling it out of my ass right now, but like it kind of stays, because there is like an element of harmony throughout the entirety of it, because there's like at least 2 notes that are kind of reverberating off each other. It was like a B natural and like something else.
Okay.
I think.
I wouldn't know.
I think. But I noticed that there was like a weird thing in the third one where like the notes kind of changed. Like they slowly phased out of what we were hearing into something else.
Gotcha.
But then it kind of goes back into something in the fourth one. Because I said like there definitely was like a bookend kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like there are like a lot of twists and turns like you wouldn't expect. Like I mentioned, I said that the 4-minute mark in part 3, there's like a sound that sounds like a lost broadcast or something that eventually turns like almost a helicopter crash. Then there's like this clicking noise that comes in and that acts as like percussion for like the track, which is you don't see on the others, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And then at 6 minutes, like it becomes like very dissonant. There's like a lot more like cutouts and like interruptions from different sounds. So it's like he's like painting some kind of picture. Like I don't know what it is, but like he's actually like making these moves to portray something.
Yeah. It's funny how Spotify labeled this as musique concrète. Because like he did use tape, right?
I think so, yeah.
Like he used tapes and then sped it up and then like slowed it down.
Home recorded that like he did himself.
Yeah. Like all of it?
I'm pretty sure.
Or was there any like samples?
I think he like set up the music, like he had his guitars and like his amplifiers. I don't think he used any kind of pedals or anything. I think he just kind of like recorded the sound and then just kind of like messed around with them in post. I'm pretty sure. I'll put that in post if not.
Gotcha. Yeah, in post.
In the description, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I felt like I don't even remember what portion of like the song or of the record it was. I swear to God, there was a moment that sounded like almost like a string section.
Yeah.
That was like, obviously heavily distorted, but I felt like there was like, I was hearing like almost music.
Yeah.
In my Matstery, when I said that like, it sounds like there's almost like musical elements. I think in that moment I was thinking like, I thought I heard like strings.
Yeah. I don't know if I could be thinking of something different, but in part 4, around the 7 minutes and 30-second mark, I was timestamping some of these sounds. So I remember.
I was thinking about doing that for like a second listen, but then I just could not do it today. Like artistic as it is, this album did give me like so much anxiety and just like discomfort to listen to.
But like I said, around like 7:30, like it sounded like there was like a harmony, like they were singing in harmony. Like it sounded like a lot less like piercing and more traditionally musical, like as if they were singing like a hymn or something. It was like, oh, this is like actually like a little pleasant. This is like a reprieve from everything we've been hearing so far. So it's just really, it's a very interesting album.
Yeah.
Are you glad you listened to it, Matt?
I don't really know because like I feel like I could have gone my whole life without listening to it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it's neat, I guess. I will be very honest with you. I don't think you're going to get a lot of praise from me with this because
I don't expect that.
As much as this was an artistic endeavor and like an attempt to like make a change in his life and like his career and creative endeavors, it still sonically was just very, very harsh.
Yeah.
And most times like I can get past that, but this time like it's riding on like a very thin line. It is still going to be higher than Playboi Carti, though. I don't think, as much as this did cause me pain to listen to, Playboi Carti Die Lit was not fun, and I still never going to like that album ever. I don't know where I would even put this, though. I did think it was funny how I thought this was like an intro, and then it just like kept
going. And I was like, this is the realization that this is the whole album. that was funny.
Oh, man. Like, once you get so deep into the album, too, there is like a moment of dread.
Really?
I feel like, yeah. Because keep in mind, I listened to this front to back. So like there is, which honestly, I feel like I kind of deserve a medal for low key. Key, I kind of feel like I deserve a medal for that. But yeah, no, there is like a weird feeling of dread once you realize that this is like
That's the whole album.
This is the whole thing. Like the whole album sounds like the beginning. It's like the only I have one comparison for you.
Okay.
The only comparison I have, there's like a specific like spacey kind of like engine-like sound that's in between Aerodynamic and Digital Love by Daft Punk in Interstellar 4-5.
Gotcha.
And that's what the whole album sounds like. Just this really like screechy, like
dissonant, piercing noise.
But I don't know. I really don't know what to say about this album, genuinely. It's because I don't even know, like, do I want to revisit this?
I mean, I'll say, like, I can see why it's hated. I feel like it gets too much, like, being called the worst album of all time. Like, no, I feel like your criteria for worse is, like, very base level, whereas, like, there are other albums, like, say, Crybaby, perhaps. Even though I'm very biased against that album, I still feel like conceptually it flops very hard based off its concept alone. And then the lyricism and production I also think are pretty bad. And the lack of tact that is handled with the concept also kind of detracts from that. Whereas in comparison to this, even though it doesn't sound good, there was like intention behind it. It reflected the artist's mind state. You can clearly hear that in the music. And it became like very influential for a lot of genres and artists going forward.
Yeah. And tape like reworking techniques, I imagine.
Probably sampling too.
No, yeah, very good points. I would honestly attribute this album, even though I did shit on it for a little bit, which I apologize, Lou Reed. You're not alive anymore.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
Rest in peace.
We know you're listening from wherever you are.
Before you go on, I think this is true. Did you know the last thing Lou Reed ever tweeted before he died was...
He was alive for Twitter?
He was. Yeah.
That's a weird sentence in itself, I feel like.
The last thing he tweeted before he died was shouting out someone who sent him like a My Little Pony OC, and he reposted it saying like, wow, thank you for sending me this.
OC stands for original character?
Yeah.
Nice.
Isn't that awesome?
That's great.
That rules.
He was like, I guess it really was the Metal Machine music. And then he passed away.
Hand drops onto the snow. It's like the Citizen Kane snow globe. It's the Pony OC.
Pale blue eyes. And then just passes away.
Rainbow Dash.
Pale Blue Eyes is the Velvet Underground song.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that's why I said that.
And that's what the OC's name is, I see.
Because that'd be a weird... Anyway, so I feel like what I was going to say, though, was I think having the context for this album is like very much needed to understand it, not necessarily like enjoy it, which is why I don't shit on like the Shags, for example.
Yeah.
Because that story kind of breaks my heart. Like them not wanting to be artists, but then kind of forced into being artists. Which I get, like making art out of frustration, like operating out of frustration. That's like a fully understood thing. Like many people have done that for many different reasons.
But being forced into doing that.
Yeah, no, it's not a great motivator to create something that's like, you know.
That people hated at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I very much attribute this album in like the same vein as that, if I'm being honest.
Like Misunderstood.
But like Misunderstood, and I'm glad that it's received some like acclaim now.
Yeah, like a lot of people like really like this album for like, what it did,
and that's good. And I'm very happy that it served its purpose. But like, yeah, I think this might be the only time. This might be one of the only times where like the context is really needed to just like understand.
Yeah,
and I could be content with just the fact that it's not for me, but like it served its purpose well, and like that's really what matters. Whereas like, I feel like Viva Las Vengeance, for example, where I kind of said like, oh, the things happening around the album don't fucking matter.
Yeah. Like
it's interesting to see an instance where the things surrounding like an album actually very much
they're
matter.
So important to why this album was made.
Important.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool seeing this on the other end. With that being said, what are you final thoughts?
Yeah, go final thoughts.
Should I go first?
Sure. If you'd like.
Yeah, no, I don't like this album. I don't think I will return to this, at least for a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm happy I at least understand it. You know, I think that's honestly what's more important. I'm probably going to put it in like at highest D tier.
That makes sense.
I can't put it like in C tier because there are already C tier albums that I think might be a little bit better just for the sheer fact that they sound better. Though it would be really funny if I put this right above F1 Trillion by Post Malone.
Stick around for our season 3 ranking. See how that pans out.
It would be very fucking funny if I did. But same time though, I think like sonically, like the history saves it from being an F tier. Because sonically, this is harrowing of a listen for an hour long. Like breaking it up is probably what I should have done because I didn't know this album at all. I didn't know what to expect. So I think that was also kind of part of it. My listening and reviewing style did not lend itself well to reviewing this.
Yeah.
So I think it was just a combination of a lot of different factors. And it's the one time my system really just did not work out for me very well. So maybe that's on me. At the same time, though, yeah,
a lot of people agree with you.
This is probably going to be like a D tier, but I respect the attempt, and I'm glad for what it did for him and that he had a prosperous career.
Yes.
This was very hard to listen to, though, and I will never not say that. It's not going to be like an American football situation where it's like I'm playing
Resident Evil 5.
Yeah, and then if I played this during Resident Evil 5,
dude.
I think I'd like shit my pants.
Dude, or like VR Resident Evil 7 or some shit.
God, imagine someone soundtracking something with this. Dude, I'd have to go into like a mental institution. Like that would be the scariest thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dial up and guitar don't really mix.
Don't really mesh well for Maddie. Not for Matter-Ratatata.
For Matter-Ratatata, it does not.
It does not get a Matter-Ratatata.
A certified Matter-Ratatata stamp of approval.
Nuh-uh.
So I'm probably gonna put it in D tier, and honestly, I don't even know number wise where I would put this. Maybe like
2 or 3.
I think 3. I want to be kinder to this album given the history, but I almost said 4.
But then you listen to it again.
I could settle for like maybe like 3.1 just to pay respects.
I see. Keep it out of the F tier.
Yeah, we'll see by the end of the season how I feel.
Valid.
But yeah, I almost feel like this needs to be held in the same vein as like the Phil Spector album because of its conditions around it.
Gotcha.
Where this also has conditions around it,
Yeah.
where I kind of like I might need to like think about this a bit. But yeah, I think those are my thoughts. D tier and like a 3.1.
Gotcha. I think that's very fair.
Yeah.
A lot of people agree with you. I'd say the vast majority of people agree with you.
Even if they didn't, I gotta say it probably would stay the same.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like, this music is not for anybody, honestly. Like, it was for Lou Reed and like some losers who like really kind of just gravitated towards it.
For Robert, Carter, and Arthur.
Exactly.
RCA.
Guys,
That's what
if you're
stands
out
for.
there, we know you're listening.
Yeah.
But I'm happy I listened to this because it definitely quelled my curiosity. I first heard of this album because there's this other YouTuber called Cactus Malpractice who has a running series named The Worst Albums of All Time, where he goes through like notorious albums that have been given that claim, and this was one of the episodes. And this held like number 1 on his ranking for a while.
What, does he have a tournament though?
He does not have a bracket, which we will get back into at the end of this
I gotta
episode.
say, kind of lacking.
Kind of slacking even.
Sorry, Cactus. I didn't mean to offend you.
That was kind of malpractice, Matt.
Tag yourself. I'm malpractice.
But that held his number 1 spot for quite a while until one of the albums on our bracket, Nostalgia Curse the Wall, came around.
Oh, God.
So I was just like very curious to see like what's so bad about it. And then I listened to it and I see why people don't like it, but I think it gets way too much hate for what it is.
And then you said, Matt's going to love this.
Yeah, actually the reason I brought it on the show is because I was thinking about like the albums I've brought on the podcast, and they're usually always like the most critically acclaimed fucking jerk sesh albums that people love and adore. And I'm like, I want to give like a bad album a try. I want to like get a fucking F tier on here. So I was like, you know what? Metal Machine Music, what does it have to offer? It's like, damn, I don't hate it. Fuck. So does this album get too much hate? Yes. Did listening to this album enlighten me to full pretentiousness? No. Should anyone listen to this album? Only if you know what you're getting into. It's definitely not as bad as people make it out to be. I can definitely see the influence this album would have on artists and genres going forward, as the soundscapes created on this project very easily pave the way for more noisy and atmospheric genres. And I find the creative process of this album like genuinely fascinating, and I was like legitimately impressed at some of the sounds achieved like through this feedback. Like, some moments feel genuinely disturbing as like music sounds like human screaming or animal squeals or like helicopter crashing. Like, it is all purposeful there for a reason, and it is there to convey a certain set of emotions that you feel just through music itself. And I feel like that is very admirable. Like, every song on here like progresses like the way it does for a reason, and I commend Lou Reed for seeing his vision all the way through, especially given his conditions like working with that record label. I think it's genuinely very well crafted and has artistic merit, which, as I said, cannot be said for other projects we've reviewed on the podcast. But it's definitely not the most palatable listening experience, and I probably won't return to it anytime soon. I'm just happy that it exists, so I'm going to give it a solid C tier.
I guess all in all, art is meant to disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed.
Amen.
Dropping plates! Yeah. Sorry.
Beat me to it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's a shitty album. This album's better than that one.
Yeah, honestly, you're right. You're right about that. Fuck Disturbed. Mm-hmm. God.
But a fascinating introspective episode of the family album. Would you agree, Matt?
Yeah, super accessible album and then a really inaccessible album. It's cool seeing like the two ends of that spectrum.
And I guess that kind of ties in to the 50th episode of the family album.
That I've forgotten for the third time until you brought it up.
Rule of threes.
Rule of threes.
There we go.
Exactly. There it is. I think the dynamic of these two albums definitely serves for a 50th episode.
Agreed.
Wouldn't you agree?
Kind of like looking at both extremes of music listening, just like what people like and what's regarded as what people hate.
Yeah.
I think it was a very fun discussion for both of these albums. We thank you for sticking with us for 50 episodes.
And thank you for the new people who have decided to tag along.
But I think that'll do it for this week's episode of the family album.
Boy, do I.
Not quite, but we'll get there.
Sorry. I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist.
I get it. C2. Oh, who is that? It's the goblins. They're back. Anyway, I'm your host, AJ Tenari.
I'm Matt Glass.
Thank you all, family heads, for listening to 50 episodes and all our other little side content. We hope you stick around for more. new people, thank you for listening now, and we hope this got you hooked even more.
We'll be back next week with a guest.
That we will, and we'll see you then.
Peace!